Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
I'm Fox.
And it is the end of 2017.
Almost, we're 3 days from the literal end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up will be 2018.
This is going to be released on the first day of 2018.
Yeah, and it's the year that the world ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, I think somebody has predicted that it was going to be the year the world ends since 2015 every year.
Well, have you ever seen the book 88 Reasons Why the World
Will End in 1988? Yeah.
The next year,
89
reasons. Same guy.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I don't want to say this is true, but I even remember correctly that the 89th reason was that it didn't end in 88.
Yeah. Well, that's solid. That's solid logic right there. It hasn't so far, so it still could.
It's weird because most of these people that write these are Christians.
Yeah.
And Fox and I are pastors in a Christian church.
Right.
We are devout in our faith. And we both also know that the Bible says, Jesus says that nobody knows the day or the hour.
Yeah, it's literally impossible to know.
Yeah. And so when people are like, oh, I know, it's not going to be
you
that
are
time.
actively
you can be
wrong and going against what you claim to believe.
You're positive. Anyway, so... oh, yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Anyway, so we figured since it's, you're listening it to the beginning of the new year, but it's the end of the year, we're going to do what everybody does, basically, and talk about 2017.
Yep.
And some of our favorite things from the year, and we'll talk about what we're looking forward to, and maybe some other stuff that comes up, like a certain movie that we both watched recently that we need to talk about.
Yes.
But anyway, so I'm going to start with the easy one that we both have already talked about. Kind of on this already, but let's just go with straight up explanation. Des, what has been your favorite video game of 2017?
That's easy for me, actually.
Right, I could name it.
Right.
And if you've listened to any episode, likely, you know what it is.
You probably know, yeah. I loved Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Right.
For me, it isn't just my favorite game of 2017. It's one of my favorite games that I've played all time.
Yeah.
So well done. It didn't win Game of the Year. I don't think it should have won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for a lot of personal reasons,
yes.
and because it's an indie game, and for so many reasons. But I do recognize that just in as far as objective goodness goes, Zelda deserved to win.
Sure.
But anyway, the game itself was just so beautiful and so well made. And again, it's an indie game, but it had some pretty glaring bugs. Pretty much everybody that I know that played it hit a bug at some point. If you guys watch my playthrough, there's a time in which Senua has two modes. There's her walking mode and her combat mode.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't go into combat mode, you can't fight. I got into a boss fight and Senua just didn't go into combat mode. So I just sat there and died, which the game, it's not true, but I could talk about them more. I'm really planning on making a video about this. The game says that there's a permadeath. That's not true.
Yeah,
the permadeath
that's kind of disappointing.
Again, I'll briefly talk about it. It's the game teaching you what it's like to have a mental illness.
Oh.
Having a genuine, serious stress for something that is not real.
Okay.
And you walk into
Seems
it.
a bit of an out to me to not deliver what it promises, but I understand.
Yeah. And so the game itself, it focuses more on that communication of mental illness than it does on the actual importance of mechanics. And so there are some bugs from time to time.
Sure.
Another one that I had is I walked into a new place and the world was just black in front of me. I could not see where I was going. Enemies were attacking me, and I'm like, dang it, I can't do anything. Christopher Odd went into an area and he didn't have a sword in his hand. He attacked with nothingness.
It still did damage, but it just wasn't rendering the sword.
Yeah, the sword just didn't exist.
Gotcha.
And so and the game itself had bugs, but so beautifully done.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fox, how about you?
I like you, it wasn't just my favorite game of the year. It is one of my favorite games of all time. Mm-hmm. Previously, it basically has replaced Ocarina of Time. But Zelda Breath of the Wild is, I think, one of the greatest games ever made.
And I agree with you.
It is such a beautiful game. Of course, aesthetically, it looks like a painting, like a watercolor painting.
Yeah, gosh.
But just the openness of the world in a fresh way. It's not an open world game like we've seen in Assassin's Creed or something. It's a world where you feel... I've played Assassin's Creed Origins, And it's a really beautiful open world. I love how it looks. It is so cool. But basically, I knew it was like about an hour into it. Once you get into the real like freedom open world part, I know what's going to happen when I go somewhere.
Right.
That's going to be a place where I have to either sneak around and kill these people, or find a treasure, or find, whatever. And there's hundreds of them, and it's fun to do. I still enjoy it. Zelda Breath of the Wild, you didn't know. There were things that would repeat themselves. There's towers that open some of the map, not open the map, but show you more of the map. That's
right.
standard. There's like enemy encampments, but there's just like so many things. Like one of the best parts I remember is when I'm just walking around and I see off in the distance one of the great dragons.
Oh gosh, it was so
and I was
gorgeous.
just, my mind was just like, what the crap is like?
Okay, so small thing.
And it just disappeared.
Like 2 episodes before that, it showed up in the corner of your screen.
Oh, yeah?
And you didn't see it, and I did. And I was like, what the crap is Fox, turn around! I can't tell you to turn around. You recorded this a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man.
Yeah, and that was such a good moment, and that game was full of those.
Yeah.
It was full of moments where you don't know what you're about to get into, and when you get there, it's so cool. And you had cool characters in it. Zelda, for the first time, was interesting. Like, I like her more than Link. Link is just standard hero guy. Zelda is like this, like, not, like, she's zero self-confident nerd.
Yeah, exactly
like,
that.
She's like, here, eat this frog. I've heard that. Like, funny moments. Genuine, funny, but also, like,
So
real
character
moments.
building.
Real
Yeah.
moments of, like, I felt for her. For the first time, Zelda was a person. And it was great. I think a
great person. Like,
Yeah.
somebody I'd want to be a friend with.
Right. And I love that it wasn't a love story. There was a connection between them.
Right.
And if they, like, in the future, like if they added something in a story download, which I haven't actually played the new, the story...
DLC.
The DLC yet. I should do that, of course. But if they added something like that, it'd be great. It's not like I don't want them to. It's just like they don't need to. But if they did, it would make sense.
Fun
And
fact,
things like
I'm
that.
pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but
I won't.
fairly certain that a romance between Link and Zelda is entirely fan-made. I don't think that's ever explored in a game.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any actual in the game, like they don't make out or something. But there's just a connection between them.
Right, there is always
that
a
you can
personal
see.
connection.
And, yeah, that's better, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. But that was great. Super Mario Odyssey definitely, like, also was one of the best of the year that I played, but it was not, I can't say it was bad. Obviously, it wasn't bad, and it's hard to say that it's, like, not as good as Breath of the Wild, because it's just kind of great in a different way, but it didn't have that same feeling. But, yeah, so did you have any games that, I don't know, honorable mentions, or that you enjoyed it for a different reason?
Well, I told you this before, that like my weird award goes to my favorite game that I never actually played, but just consumed watching somebody play it. That was Breath of the Wild for me. Watching you play that is just so good.
Yeah.
But hang on, I'm looking something up real quick. Yeah. So the game of the years, this is kind of a throwback to an episode we talked about a while back on console exclusivity. And I talked about how exclusivity makes companies make great games.
Yeah, breeds some competition.
All 5 game of the year nominees were console exclusives.
Yeah.
Other than PUBG, which was originally just computer exclusive.
Yeah,
and then it became on the Xbox.
And that's a whole nother episode, whether or not that should have even been considered, which we should still talk about. Special mention for me, Neo, which I understand weird for, like, Neo wasn't even, like, I don't even think it was great. I just really enjoyed it. It was essentially like a less well-made Dark Souls, but with Japanese mythology, and I am a sucker for Japanese mythology.
Yeah.
There's that game, Ghost of...
Ghost in the Shell?
No, Ghost of...
Edith Finch?
There's I forget what it's called. There's basically an open-world samurai game coming out soon.
Oh.
That I'm
nice.
I'm so pumped for. You could just put a samurai in a trailer for your game. I'll buy it.
For me, my honorable mention goes to Cuphead. I loved playing
man.
that game. And it was so much fun, and it was so difficult and so punishing in so
Yeah.
many ways.
Yep.
But the replayability of it was so high because you didn't have to, other than that one level that we struggled with, you didn't have to go through a level to get to the boss.
It was just there.
Excuse me. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
just went and fought.
Yeah, they just kind of skipped.
So
I'm gonna go with biggest kind of like letdown. Well, biggest letdown was Andromeda.
yeah,
I liked it, but it was just like, oh, okay, that's a Mass Effect game,
yeah,
and it kind of just had like this potential, but it didn't really live up to it in my
in
book.
so many ways.
Not letdown, but like similar reasons. Shadow of War, I enjoyed playing it more than Andromeda, but it also was just like okay, this is Shadow of Mordor, but just
With some
more of
other
it.
things.
More Mordor.
Yeah.
Mordor.
Did you beat it?
War? No, I haven't even beat it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the whole thing.
That's
I'm close, I think, but
It's a big one to me that you haven't even completed
right.
it
And
yet.
I love
so.
Tolkien, so
And we're playing Resident Evil 7 right now, and that's a really
good
fun
one.
game. Yeah,
It's a good one.
It's good. So a lot of really good games came out this year, but these are just games that released this year. Are there any games that you've played this year that you played for the first time, maybe classics, anything like that? that
wow, how specific. Not Resident. Half-Life.
Yeah,
I
we'll go
recently
with that.
played Half-Life. I recorded it. It's going to go up on the channel at some point.
Yeah,
But it is incredible in the sense that I don't know. Like I understand. Like it's hard for me to get past like current standards for games.
right.
The controls were real slippery. Like you could stop moving and he would just kind of slide for a few feet.
That's weird.
Right, a few feet like in the game, which would be
Right.
fine. But there are
A few
parts.
feet out of game.
There are parts where there's platforming.
Oh,
And if you're going to put platforming in your game,
Ooh,
you have to have
yeah.
the tightest controls you can possibly make. Like I'm playing Turok right now, which is fun. It's okay. It's not anything great. But I will say that it has more platforming, but it's not it's got so tight controls. Like if you take your finger off of the move button, you stop moving.
right.
Which I understand when you're running, you have momentum, and if you're running in real life, you do not immediately stop. But if you're playing a video game and you have to get past a certain point and it relies on you being able to move very precisely and you can't do it, I don't care about real physics. I care about my enjoyment of the game. Anyway,
Man, that's something I want to. That's another thing I want
Yes.
to talk about.
I'm complaining about Half-Life, but it is really fun.
Yeah.
I love the story. It's a real minimal story, but it's like fun because it's kind of nonsense. You're a scientist in a lab,
Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman, and you
That
do
even
any-
sounds like a fake name. It's like, excuse me, sir, who are you? Gordon Freeman.
Yeah, you do an experiment, and then like alien monsters start showing up, and you don't know anything about it until like later, and then there's like this whole conspiracy, and yeah, so that one's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For me, one that this honorable mention that came out a while back, but Arkham Knight.
Oh yeah.
As
Yeah, you played
frustrating,
that for the first time this year. Huh?
yeah, as frustrating as the stupid freaking
The tank-
Batmobile
The
was.
tank missions.
I hated the Batmobile. Everybody hated the Batmobile.
Right, that was the terribleness.
But the story was so
Yes.
good. Just
Yes.
the way that they, spoiler alert, came out a while back, but skip ahead 30 seconds.
Sure.
The way that they built up to the end of Batman was so good.
Right.
Just, I mean,
Well,
every
even
little...
that, and just the Joker's involvement.
Oh my gosh, the Joker's
it
involvement.
felt like they... Because you could have easily been like, let's shove the Joker in here somehow, because everybody loves the Joker.
Right.
No, it felt natural.
Yes.
It felt real.
It very, very much so
a
felt
natural
real.
result of the story so far in the Arkham series, but also, like, handled well.
I don't feel like any of the side characters they brought in, Azrael, Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, or Oracle, I guess, any of them were forced in.
Right.
They all naturally played into the story
Yeah.
the way that they should
Yeah,
have.
that's Rocksteady's real, like quality. Their real forte is writing a story.
Right.
And then, I mean, the game is fun too. Like
Great.
the world is cool and
Yeah.
the mechanics are good, but the story is really what you play those for.
I think, I mean, to go back to that whole thing, Batman type style fighting and whatnot, I think part of my problem with Shadow of War is just how powerful you are. I feel like you're too powerful.
Really?
Yeah, and like every time I see that you fight a Balrog,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the thing that killed Gandalf. Do you remember that?
Literally a deific being. Like he is
Yes.
a demigod essentially. Not literally, but he is like a lesser god, and a Balrog killed him. I should not be able to win.
Yeah, it would be like playing a Marvel video game and they're like, okay, now you're casually going to fight Galactus.
Oh, well, you do have when you fight a Balrog, you are using essentially it's like a kaiju battle. It's really fun. You have the weird, there's like
ring?
that forest. No, there's like that forest being. I forget what it's called. It was kind of cool.
Like the
Well,
tree?
no, there's a forest in the game. I don't know if you remember this. There's a forest, but there's also, and it has like other forests in Middle Earth do. It has like this presence.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it also is manifested in an actual like being.
Right.
And it grants you the power to fight this Balrog with it. So it in game, it's not unreasonable. Like, it doesn't define the power of this being. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's enough, whatever. But still, you really shouldn't be able to fight.
Yes.
That Balrog should murder you.
We're not going to pull a Game Awards and talk for an hour and a half, so let's move on. So,
Right.
real quickly, those are the games that we really enjoyed and what we enjoyed about them. But obviously, we are just a pop culture podcast, not just video games.
We don't talk about video games exclusively.
Yeah. So, Fox, what about movies that you saw this year?
I'm what you call a movie man.
Yeah, you really are.
Kind of a cinephile.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you're even more of a cinephile than a video game
Yeah,
person.
I'm more critical of movies than video games.
Right.
So I'll talk about first my favorite movie that came out this year. Oh, did that actually come out this year? Yeah, it did. Okay, good to know.
Wow.
Anyway, my favorite movie that I saw that came out this year was probably Logan. First of all, I love Wolverine.
Right.
And so when something handles Wolverine in an interesting, but also like not just a viscerally, like he was violent and just like
as
vulgar,
much as it needed to be.
It was fine. That's not what made it good.
Right.
That's what like it made it. It allowed it to be good.
Right.
Because he is a character that his whole life is violence, and at a certain point, he just wants it to end.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do that so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I loved it. It had great dialogue. It the characters were wonderful. The story had a few like goofy things in it, like, oh, this is a secret company that's doing experiments on kids, but it handled it in a movie that the rest of it is so believable. It's fine. It's good. Like, Professor X was awesome in it.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't Professor X. What I tell people when it came out, what I told people is, like, an example of why it's such a cool thing and why it feels so real. So, Professor X is, like, you know, got this crazy
broken
brain.
old man.
Well, sure, but think about what would happen to the world's most powerful psychic if he just started aging.
Yeah.
What happens to a brain? It starts to deteriorate. You have delusions. You can't control what you think or what you see or like. And what happens when that brain is able to control time essentially and stop everybody from moving or cause them to like, yeah. And so that was really cool. Just an example of how they treated a ridiculous world of mutants and superpowers in a way that felt real.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It was great. It was really good.
What was your movie of the year? That came out this year. We'll start.
Right. There were a lot of movies that I saw this year. In fact, I'm really surprised. I'm just looking through. We have a list here of how many movies that I saw that came out this year.
Yeah.
Typically, I don't get to watch that many movies as a father of three. But movie that I enjoyed the most, I will go with Star Wars Episode 8. Because,
really?
Yeah. Because
you're the one.
I'm a Star Wars nerd. And that's really the truth. Like, I love Star Wars, and I loved what they did with the characters. I loved what they did with the plot line. We talked about this, Fox. I did not like Finn's plot line. It was really forced. It was very silly.
Yeah.
Riding those race horses through a casino.
Alien horses.
Through a casino to save the slave boys.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, come on, guys.
Like, I get what they're going for, but it should have been done differently. That's kind of my whole review of the movie.
But everything else that they did was the idea of being a hero does not mean killing the bad guy and saving the day and being daring. Like,
oh, sure.
They kind of like, Poe was that like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And everything was like, Poe, stop it. Sometimes being a hero means killing yourself by flying light speed into the other ships. Sometimes being a hero means standing, not even being there. It means standing in your ethereal form in front of stuff. Sometimes
spoilers, by the way.
Oh yeah,
right.
Obviously.
You've seen it. If you've seen it, we're listening to this, you've probably seen it.
Yeah, sometimes being a hero means so many different things that are not flying
or
your
literally
ship.
running away.
Yeah.
Because that's how we can come up with a little bit of time to try to save people. Yeah, we could jump in our ships and go out there and try to fight them. That would be stupid, though.
And every Star Wars movie before this has been the hero by being the brash.
Kind of.
Jump out there. And, I mean, that's just movies. That's how movies are. But this one, the way that Rogue One took war seriously, I feel like this was the first Star Wars movie to take war seriously. Like numbered Star Wars movie to take war seriously. The Rebels are losing. We are losing, and we are going to lose. But it's not about that for the Rebels. The Rebels story is this minuscule part of episode 5.
It's part of it, yeah. The real,
it's about, Lando Calrissian and Cloud City.
We could have an entire conversation about Star Wars, because I disagree with you on some of this. But, I don't say it's bad. I get why you like it.
Right. But the best made movie in 2017 that I watched, Coco.
Okay.
By Pixar.
Awesome.
It was...
I've yet to see it.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Go watch Coco, all of you guys. They did not do anything like... They didn't risk anything. They didn't try anything brand new.
Sure.
They took what they knew would be good, made some beautiful, incredible characters, awesome music.
Yeah.
They honored a culture that, obviously, as a full-blooded Mexican, I appreciate.
Sure.
They honored a culture very, very appropriately, very, very well, and they made a great movie.
Cool.
And it is so good.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing it eventually. But
yeah, so that's probably the best made movie I saw, rather than
my
movie I like.
My favorite Pixar is The Incredibles, and it's gonna have to do a whole lot to get above The Incredibles.
Well,
I love that movie.
Incredibles 2, I'm almost worried about because of all that it's going to have to do.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know,
man. So another movie that we both saw in.
Hold on. I want to honorable mention one.
Real quick. Go ahead.
John Wick 2.
Yeah.
John Wick 2 is a schlocky action movie.
It really is.
It is, but it is the best of the schlocky action movies. Like, it does not rise above being schlocky action. It's not like a serious... Like, Logan rises above being a schlocky superhero movie. Right. By being real and cool, or like being about characters that you love. John Wick 2 almost rises above them by taking itself very seriously, by taking itself with, like, even the goofy things in the world of John Wick, like going to the tailor who's actually creating body armor.
So good.
Or the wine seller, basically, but he's the guy who gives you your weapons. Yeah, and all these cool things, like, it builds a cool universe, but just the story is just constantly moving. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like, when a movie, no matter how ridiculous or bad really a movie is, if you are constantly hoping to find, like, wanting to see what happens next, that's a good movie.
Right.
I don't care how bad it is, how illogical things happen. John Wick probably should have died pretty quickly. He's good, but he should have died. I don't care. I wanted to see what would happen next, and that makes a good movie. I cannot wait for John Wick Chapter 3. But yes, now we should talk about...
Okay.
You got something?
John Wick is a lot of fun. They're really great. I don't like them as much as the average person.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
They're great. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're super cool. But
it
I feel
so
like
much attention to detail with its
and that's exactly my point. Is so much of it is done so well and so realistically. like you can count every bullet he fires.
Yes.
He is in every vehicle that he drives. Like Keanu Reeves is
If he
an
needs to
incredible
reload,
stuntman.
he will reload.
Right.
He has to.
Everything is done so realistically and so well, and then like people backflip over a racing car and shoot people in that like, and so it's almost
When
like
did that happen? I don't remember that.
I'm making things up.
Oh, okay.
Not literally that, but my whole point is that like there is so much campy action stuff that
Yeah.
happens in it that is directly juxtaposed with severe realism.
Sure.
Like there's the Jason Bourne movies and they have severe realism.
Sure.
And they're really good for that, but they're also they take that seriously.
Yeah.
John Wick kind of balances this line.
Yeah, to me, it helps that the realism helps you accept the unrealism. To me, it's
Man,
about
yeah,
like the
I can
realism
see
of
that.
the combat and the movement and like the gunplay and the martial arts helps you accept the ridiculousness of what they're actually trying to convince you is real.
Right.
This world of assassins that has this like gold coin currency and
I love the
so
world.
so cool, but it's ridiculous. But since everything else is played so straight, it makes it much easier to say, okay, suspension of disbelief is made easier by the normally ridiculous things that aren't paid attention to, they're paid attention to.
And see that it had the opposite effect on me.
Okay, that's fair.
because I went into this movie with a suspension of disbelief, and then they gave me realism, and I'm like, oh, now realism, and then disbelief happened,
Sure.
and I'm like, oh well, never.
Yeah. Oh.
So much for realism.
Morpheus runs like a weapon.
Yeah,
like he's
the homeless weapon
he's
man.
the Bowery King. That's what they call him. He's awesome. I really wish there was a reference to the Matrix or
Yes,
something.
I just
like,
wanted to call him like Mr. Wick.
yeah, or
Excuse
like
me,
I
Mr.
can
Wick.
like this door will take you to your death. I can't make you go through it, but I can show you the door. some direct line or something. Like
But I will say I love the world of John Wick. I want there to be an RPG, like a tabletop RPG.
there's
in
a
the world
video
of John
game.
Wick.
Apparently, it's not very good.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Movie we want to talk about
We
as
have
well.
a movie to talk
There
about.
are other movies I want to talk about, but we really want to talk about
Always.
Bright.
Bright.
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't know what Bright is, you might have watched it. It's actually gotten some like criticism, of course, because it treats race in a certain way.
It's weird. It's a weird.
It's a Netflix movie,
right?
directed by David Ayer, or Ayer, however you say it, who directed Suicide
Suicide
Squad,
Squad.
who's directed he directed End of Watch,
Oh yeah.
which is similar to this movie.
Neither movies are bad. Neither of those movies are bad.
I think Suicide Squad is bad.
No,
It's-
it's not bad.
I hate
it's not
that.
good.
I think it is bad.
No.
Anyway,
get out of here.
I won't. This is my house.
Get out.
Okay, bye. Anyway, he's directed those. End of Watch was great.
It's not as bad as Bright.
End of Watch was great.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bright is a movie about a cop, Will Smith, and his partner. What do they call him? What's his name?
His name is Jacoby.
Yeah, Jacoby's his last name.
Yeah.
He is an orc. This is a very low fantasy movie in which the real world, it takes place in LA, is inhabited by humans, of course, but also orcs.
If you've ever played
Elves?
Shadowrun, the tabletop RPG,
Oh, okay.
it is
There's
Shadowrun.
some Shadowrun games.
It's a
too.
simple. It's essentially Shadowrun.
Right. It has fantasy things in the real world.
Yeah.
There's even a centaur.
Yeah, there's a centaur.
The
cop
centaur
for a second.
cop?
Yeah.
Just half a second. I like that. I like when things are not paid attention to that
Right.
are ridiculous.
One of the very first things that happens in the movie
Yes.
is Will Smith has to get a fairy out of his bird feeder.
Like a little like it's like a bug essentially, like a
Yeah.
big annoying bug.
And so, I mean, again, all of this stuff is taken.
That's actually a perfect
Casually.
example of what the movie tries to do.
Right.
Because while he's trying to kill that bug, there are orc neighbors.
No, they're
Are they just
they're
humans?
Black people.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that correctly.
Yeah.
Anyway, while he's doing that, he literally says to the neighbors, doesn't really matter. He says to the neighbors, "Fairy lives don't matter today."
Yeah.
And that kind of is a microcosm of the world they're trying to create, in which it is a low fantasy, like bonkers movie about fantasy races in the real world, but also trying to tackle real world issues,
Right.
which is fine. That's a cool concept.
It's a very difficult concept to do.
Yes.
And they ran into a lot of the obvious issues that you would run into trying to do this.
To me, the problem was there was too much cliche in the movie for you to take it seriously.
And I agree with you. It was so cliche.
Yes.
But I almost feel like you had to be cliche with a premise like this. Like, to try and take something like this and then do something unique with it, the premise is already too unique. At that point, you're not going to take anything seriously.
Right.
To me, your brain is already having to suspend all of the disbelief by believing that there's a cop with an orc partner.
Yeah, from the very start, it has
trying to find a magic wand.
Yes.
Literally trying to find a magic wand.
Yes.
That's the very beginning, and so everything after that has to be as simple and believable as possible. It doesn't have to be, but I think that's just one of the initial struggles that they said. They're like, look, we're asking a lot of our audience already. Let's not ask much more of them.
I get that. I that's the problem.
Yeah,
to me, though.
I agree.
I like movies that are complicated and do not treat the audience like a fool, like a dumb person.
Right.
I like a movie that it needs to give you an explanation, but it needs to explain only what it needs to explain for you to get the plot. I don't need the world. Like, they're a microcosm of what I'm trying to say right now. It's a good word, by the way. I'm using it a lot. When they're driving to the police station, just driving to the police station, for no reason at all, the orc who's driving, he goes through Elf Town.
Yeah.
And they show it for like 5 seconds, and they're just to tell you that elves are fancy rich people. They live in the fancy rich part of town, spend a lot of money, dress really nice,
Well,
look
they're
all
literally
fancy and
like
rich.
police barriers just to get into Elf Town.
Right. And it never paid off. It had nothing to do with anything. Elves show up in the rest of the movie as various roles, but that has nothing to do with anything. So to me, that's a problem that kind of showed up a little bit more as well, because it's like, hey, look at this. This is how elves live in the real world. But if it has nothing to do with anything, then you're just putting filler in your movie.
They spend a lot of time establishing the world, but then their plot had very little to do with the way the entire world worked.
I'm going to go with some spoilers right here.
Okay.
So the plot, the end, like, they mention him a couple times, essentially. The plot is, we've got this elf girl with a magic wand. Bad elves are trying to capture her, and because they want the wand to bring back the Dark Lord. That's his name, the Dark Lord.
Right.
That's the plot. What actually happens is, over and over, it's essentially a scene of dialogue for some exposition, and then a shootout somewhere, like a strip club or something, for no reason. Like, and then they escape, and then they have some dialogue, and then there's another shootout, and then they escape, and it just kind of repeats that.
Yep.
And there are some moments that are cool. I liked the orc church scene. That gave us some, like, detail on how these people live while also progressing the story forward, and that's what you need to shoot for, is, like, doing both at the same time, so it's not wasted, but it's also interesting.
Right.
And then the end, like, is just so cliche.
Oh, I hated it.
It's essentially, honestly, it's essentially the ending of Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
it's
in a way.
Essentially the same thing.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Suicide Squad did a significantly better job of explaining it and building up to it, and it not being the exact person you expected it to be, and everything like that.
Oh, sure, we could disagree all day.
Right.
But anyway, it's an interesting movie, and I would tell you should watch it. Well, it's an interesting in concept. My main problem is that it was boring.
It's not a good movie.
It's
just so sad because it's such a good concept.
I love good movies, of course. I also love bad movies that are fun to watch.
Right.
You need to watch Trolls 2 or Troll 2 or like The Room or something that's like, this is a terrible piece of garbage, but it's so bad it's funny. Like, unintentionally funny. They tried to make something good and failed. This was like...
That's essentially what Sam Raimi did with the Evil Dead series. The first Evil Dead came out, and he wanted it to be a serious thing.
The first one was serious, and it was still good.
But people thought it was kind of camp and goofy, and so he came out with the second.
He ran with it, and then Army of Darkness,
and just
all pretense is gone.
Yeah, and it was wonderful.
Which are fun because it's like wink wink at the audience a lot of times. This was just like... It just had a lot of boring... Like, nothing was interesting enough to like enjoy it, even if the plot was a cliche. And the plot was too cliche to kind of to forgive the world not being explained enough, or like the world was basically like there's orcs and there's elves.
Yep.
And yeah, like they didn't have dwarves at all. I think they mentioned
talked about
dwarves at
a
once,
lot.
but they didn't show up. That'll probably be in the sequel because I guarantee there's going to be a sequel.
I don't know. It did terribly.
Did it?
Yeah, it's got like a
Maybe
23 Metascore.
critically, but if it got enough views on Netflix,
I
they'll
guess
make a
that's
sequel.
true.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
honestly, I'm down to watch a sequel.
I would agree, actually.
They need a new writer. Max Landis is the one who wrote it. He, fun fact, side thing, he is the son of John Landis, who wrote Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, lots
John
of
Landis is
classic,
great.
great movies. And so, he's also a writer. He's written several movies you've heard of. Chronicle, which was that handheld camera style where they get superpowers. That was a good one. He wrote American Ultra. Not great.
Nope.
He wrote the Frankenstein movie. Not I, Frankenstein, but the Daniel Radcliffe Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe and James McAvoy Frankenstein movie. Not great. Like,
I never saw it.
most of his movies have not really been that good. They need a new writer. They need somebody who can write something more interesting.
Right.
Instead of trying to it's like Black Lives Matter, but they're orcs.
Right.
Like, that's essentially what it was. And that's a fine concept, but it needs to be handled very cleverly and very subtly. And this was not subtle or clever in any way.
In any way.
Right. So that's our review of Bright.
Yeah, there's so much more we could talk about with that because, again, the concept is so cool.
Yeah, I like the idea.
They had so much that they could have done, so much potential, and every little once in a while, you got a gleam of that potential, and you were like, that was a cool moment, or that's a cool thought, or I like this idea. But after that, nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so let's move on a little bit.
Yep.
We're going to look forward now to
Looking
2018,
forward,
which has started today, dear listener.
Happy
There are
2018.
lots of cool movies coming out.
Yes.
Lots of, of course, they're all based on something because that's all that is a thing now.
I want to talk about
Look
all
at
of them.
this.
There's so many things I want to talk about.
2018. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a sequel. 10, 11, 12, 13. That's based on a true story. 14. That's a sequel. 15. That's a book. Like Stars Born. That's been made 1,000 times. Literally, we're like 25 movies into this list, and none of them are original ideas, which is the par for the course. So
Yeah.
I'm disappointed, but I am looking forward to them. Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Mary Poppins Returns? Really?
I hope she has like a machine gun. It's like post-apocalyptic.
of Mary Poppins.
Spoonful of lead makes the sugar go down. wait, that didn't make any sense. Spoonful of lead makes
the sugar go down.
Spoonful of sugar makes my lead go down.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Mary Poppins is now Duke Nukem. Anyway, give me a movie that you pick one. Pick one. We don't have a whole lot of time here that you're looking forward to.
One that I know a lot about and one that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
So, first that I know a lot about, because I didn't just read this book, like I consumed this book like a fine wine.
Yeah.
I read it when when I officiated your wedding, Fox.
Oh yeah.
Ready Player
50
One.
Shades Darker. Just kidding.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Yeah.
So
now the preview, I don't know much about I've never read it, but the previews look kind of cool.
I am going into this knowing what you have to do to make a good adaptation. Which, did we ever post that episode?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait. No, we didn't.
Yeah, we're sitting on. It's our emergency episode talking about what makes a good adaptation.
It'd be relevant now that everything's an adaptation.
But Ready Player One is so good, but it has so much intricacy in the book. So I'm waiting for the streamlined movie version, and I'm a little concerned, but I'm also it looks good.
You take it with a grain of salt, it can be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The one that I know nothing about, but it just looks good and it looks cool, is Alita Battle Angel.
I haven't seen anything about that.
I saw a preview because I have IMDb app. You can get a push notification for whenever a new preview comes out.
Oh.
And so I have that on my phone, a push notification for new previews.
Yeah.
And so I saw a preview for Alita Battle Angel, and it looks good.
Okay.
It looks so much fun.
I think it's a comic series or something.
It might be, or maybe a manga or something like that.
Yeah.
It has that.
It sounds like a manga title.
it has this sort of iRobot meets Ghost in the Shell meets a battle robot type thing.
Okay.
It's so good.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it looks great. How about you? Movies, guys, there's so many. I want to talk about all of them.
No,
Tomb Raider.
Okay, I think what I'm most
Ocean's
looking forward
8 looks
to,
stupid.
Mamma Mia 2.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
I saw Mamma Mia in theaters. I didn't hate it.
I saw Mamma Mia
because I love
theaters,
ABBA.
and it was not good.
I love ABBA. I don't care about the movie. I love ABBA.
Mortal Engines looks super cool, but I know nothing about it.
For real though, probably the movie I'm most looking forward
Infinity
to
War.
is probably Infinity War.
Yeah, I'm worried about Infinity War.
Honestly, I am a Marvel fanboy. I can't not say that because I am. But also, I love the directors. I love the directors. They're the what's their names? Dang it! I'm gonna go look it up real quick because it's right here.
There's a Rampage movie coming out starring Dwayne Johnson.
I played so much Rampage as a kid.
I hate that.
I'm so sad.
I will not. If somebody tells me it's the greatest movie ever created, I will not watch it because it is the worst. It's like the movie Battleship. It's the worst version of IP movie making. Like, you can't make this into a movie. There's no plot.
It's literal brand recognition. That's all it is. Anyway, the Russo brothers, Anthony and Joe Russo, they directed Captain America 2 and 3. And they directed a lot of the Community. One of my favorite shows ever. No. Am I thinking the right one? Either Community or Arrested Development. Either way, really good. I'm looking forward to it. I think Marvel has done a very, very, very good job of building up to this.
Right.
And I honestly just really looking forward to watching Infinity War. I think it'll be cool. Black Panther looks also awesome. But Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
Incredibles, as I said before, is my favorite Pixar movie. I don't think it's a children's movie.
I am intrigued by the New Mutants. Because
it looks like it's doing something new.
Horror movie.
It is a horror movie, but with X-Men, basically. Not X-Men, but...
And so it's just this idea of mutants and a horror movie, and they're trying to make this... Yeah, like, I like it.
All right, we should move on to video games, but quick shout-out. A Quiet Place.
Right.
Directed by...
That looks interesting.
John Krasinski, Jim from The Office.
Right.
Starring John Krasinski and his wife.
That's his wife?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Blunt. Emily Blunt.
Yeah, Emily Blunt.
Has one of the greatest trailers I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was.
Such silence, and then...
Yeah, the plot apparently is about there's monsters or something that hear everything and will kill you. So everything in this world they do quietly. And you might not... It doesn't show any monsters. And for the first half of that trailer, it is silent.
Yep.
And without knowing anything about it, you are on edge.
And then,
when a noise is made, without knowing what the problem is, you are worried.
I am so hard to startle.
Yes.
But when that happened, I was like, boom! Like, it freaked me out.
The time I saw the preview in the theater, somebody in the theater was just like, oh no! Like, literally like, oh no! Or something like that. And I agree. It's such a good trailer.
Yeah, it looks great.
Anyway, let's move on to 2018 in video games. What are you looking forward to
in video games? For me, this is so weird because this is a AAA title. It's a AAA fighting title. And for me, that is just not at all me.
Sure.
Dragon Ball FighterZ, really? Man.
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
It looks so
just a couple
good.
Weeks. And
yeah.
I'm going to be better at it than you are, but I'm looking forward to it.
We'll see. We will see. So Fox sent me messages like, hey, you want to split that so we can record it? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And the more I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe we just both buy it.
Really?
And then we come back and we can practice, like, and actually, like, go and... I don't know. Also, when we split it, we get cheaper. Yeah. Anyway, so...
Yeah.
But it looks So good and so cool. And I am a Dragon Ball Z fanboy.
Yeah.
I grew up with Dragon Ball Z.
As did
and
I.
I've seen every episode of Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. I haven't watched any Super yet.
Right.
But I watched
This does
every
include
episode of
this does include super characters, so we might need to watch a little bit.
So good.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But the game I am most looking forward to is The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
I like The Last of Us more than you did, because you couldn't... The ending really hurt you.
It did.
But
it was real tough on me.
I freaking loved that game.
Yeah.
It
really did.
it might be one of the best games I've ever played. Like, top 10 probably. And Part 2... Naughty Dog does such a good job at not just rehashing things that I'm looking for, like, if that game has half Joel and Ellie and the other half is somebody new, I'd love it.
Yeah.
I love Joel and Ellie.
Well, and
for
the
sure.
the preview that they have for it didn't have Joel or
yeah,
Ellie.
the longer preview. There is a
Yeah.
cinematic one that has
and just her playing
them,
guitar.
which was great.
Right.
And got me super pumped. But I am looking forward to the stories that are told, not necessarily Joel and Ellie.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm super pumped for. Of course, there's lots. Kingdom Hearts 3 is supposed to come out this year.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is listed there, but it's been listed since 2015.
Yes, it has.
So Sea of Thieves looks super fun.
I'm not...
Oh my god, you're wrong.
I'm not interested at all in that.
I want you to be sailing a boat and me riding on the mast to leap onto somebody else's boat, shoot them, steal their boat, and then you and I sail away.
That'll get real boring real fast.
I don't know.
I think it'd get real boring.
God of War looks really
I'm
good.
really interested in, because again, it looks like it's focusing on telling a story
on character
and characters you love, and that's anything fictional. That's what you have to rely on. Like that's what you focus on. Everything else is peripheral, and that's why I'm looking forward to that.
I loved watching you play the demo of Far Cry 5.
Yeah, Far Cry 5.
Really
I'm looking forward
interested
to.
in Far Cry 5.
I doubt that'll be character driven, but I do like the idea of a Christian cult.
Yeah.
And because that is a
devout Christian, I really like this idea.
Especially in America, that's not a thing that gets like talked about a lot.
I mean, I love that so many people are like having issues with this.
Right. Like, you should make them Muslim. I don't know how serious that was. I don't know if that was just a ploy by the company, whatever. But I just liked it's bold to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
And I'm looking forward to that. Ni no Kuni 2.
Ni no Tuni is
pushed
the correct name for that.
Sure. They pushed it back to March, which I'm pretty sad about, but also, hey, take all the time you need to make a great game.
To make it great.
I will play the crap out of that game. All kinds of stuff that I'm looking forward to this year. Gaming has become... I mean, there have always been great games.
Right.
But I feel like it's getting to a point, and has gotten to a point where people are taking it seriously.
Biomutant's going to be coming out this year. Biomutant looks
Octopath
really
Traveler
good.
Looks interesting. I don't know... based on the demo, I don't know how much I'll love it.
2?
Yeah, that'll be fun. So many good things that have a lot of potential.
Yeah. EA Sports UFC 3.
Right? Yeah, hopefully looking forward to Battlefront 3.
Yeah.
I really want to spend more money on...
Gotta get the microtransactions.
I really need more characters to play, and I don't want to play the game. I just want to pay for them. So shout out to EA for being great.
Douchebags.
All right, so... Any last thoughts on 2017? Is there something else that we didn't mention, like a genre or something that you loved from this year?
Here's one thing I want to say about 2017. 2017 worked really hard on, like, what's the word I'm looking for? When you want to, like, give somebody knowledge, like, acknowledge people.
Informing people?
No, validating.
Oh, okay.
Really good job validating indie games.
Okay, yeah.
And I love that. As you guys know, if you're listening to this, I'm kind of the indie guy between the two of us. And I mean, just games like Cuphead and games like Hellblade are all indie games. And when we get mad at companies, typically we get mad at publishers. Like, that's right. So
right.
And at the end of the day, indie games means that the developers can make exactly what they want to make, and 2017 did a great job of letting us see what happens when video games can be exactly what the creator, the artist, wants it to be. Yeah. And I like that about 2017.
Yeah. I'm just going to mention something else that we were going to talk about, like TV or whatever, but The Punisher.
Punisher.
Came out this year.
I think I liked it more than you. Maybe.
I mean, for the Netflix Marvel stuff, like Iron Fist, The Defenders, and Punisher came out this year.
Right.
Those other two were pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, very underwhelming.
I wouldn't really argue with somebody who just said that Iron Fist was bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it was bad. I think it was real mediocre.
Yeah.
And a lot of lost potential. But Punisher was so good.
Incredible.
Beyond, like, he had his logo on for like an episode.
Right.
And I was like, oh, right, that's a thing. Whatever. Like, because I cared about Frank Castle, and I cared about Micro, and I cared about their families, and I cared about what was happening.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter, like, it could have not been the Punisher. I probably wouldn't have watched it. So I get the brand recognition thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I wouldn't have watched a show like this if it wasn't the Punisher, but I loved it. Yeah.
It was very good.
So
I
good.
agree.
Well, tell us what you thought of 2017.
What you're looking forward to in 2018.
Yeah, tell us about the games you played and the movies you saw. Maybe we missed out or forgot about a really good one. I don't know.
Yeah,
Let
absolutely.
us know in the comments below, or
Yep.
just send me a text if you have my phone number, which
It
would be
is
weird if I don't know you.
480. I don't.
It is.
I have no. Yeah, I know that. I don't have your phone number memorized.
867
5309.
5309. If you say that in the right way, like in a rhythmic way to people, they'll think it's your number and they'll try to call it. I've done it before.
Told people a lot. My phone number is 911, and they'll be like, okay, wait.
All right. Well, yeah. So, like I said, continue the conversation. We'll continue it with you in the comments.
Absolutely, we will.
We have all the things to say about everything. So, let us know. Thanks for listening this year. It's been a good start to the podcast.
Absolutely.
And a real good year for Des and Fox.
Yeah, it's
we
been
are
awesome.
very much looking forward
We
to
really appreciate you
2018.
guys.
So, we'll see you there.
Yep. See you guys next year. Remember, save games, save lives.
See you later.